Tired of loot boxes, online services, season passes, battle passes, and unfinished game? If you're looking to whet that Dragon Age appetite, then GreedFall might just be up your alley. Produced by Focus Home Interactive and developed by Spiders, GreedFall is a callback to the days where BioWare actually shipped complete games. It's an RPG with a rich, lived-in world, solid combat, and a whole lot of social quests. And while GreedFall may not have had a AAA dev team at its disposal, the small, less than 50-person crew have delivered something that I think is truly worthwhile. Let's discuss those tasty mechanics. GreedFall is at its core an RPG. It's got stats, meaningful branching paths, and wonderfully designed quests that take perfect advantage of the character you've built. GreedFall expertly divides up its stats into 3 diverse categories: skills, attributes, and talents. Skills are how you approach combat. Do you have a magic ring to blast your enemies with missiles, a melee weapon to slice your way to victory, or a powerful gun that delivers a solid bang to your oppressors? Attributes are also tied to combat, but work as your stats that augment and unlock how good you are with certain weapons, or whether you can even use certain equipment. These points are slowly doled out to you throughout your adventures, making your decisions on where to put these points incredibly impactful. I very much appreciated this limitation. So many games nowadays tend to give you a plethora of points to spend with no real consequence of where you put them because you always feel like you had enough. GreedFall expertly makes this choice difficult and meaningful, offering replayability and a solid RPG experience. Lastly, talents are very similar to attributes, offered slowly throughout the game, but greatly change up how you deal with quests. Some talents allow you to make potions and bombs, where others allow you to leap across gaps. Other talents let you talk your way through a situation, or pick a lock to avoid some situations altogether. These are very meaningful choices, and greatly change up how you approach a problem. It lets you truly play a character that supports how you want to play. The more meaningful options you have like this make for a more memorable and engaging experience. If I'm able to play exactly how I want to play, my overall experience with the game is going to be heightened. GreedFall does this exceptionally well. No 2 playthroughs are going to feel the same because my approach to each social situation and combat is going to be drastically different. Let's talk about combat. I played on the PS4. It feels pretty damn good. Using the different skills you unlock, combat feels finely tuned to your playstyle. It's fast, fluid, and can be very challenging in spots. Depending on your character's build, a couple of swings into you with a giant sword can end your journey very abruptly. When in harder combats, I definitely had to play to my strengths. The game even has a tactical pause option, allowing you to freeze the game to survey the battlefield and carefully choose what you want to do next. At first, I thought this was a tacked on feature, but as the game progressed and combats got harder, I found myself very wisely using this function to survive brutal encounters. The AI is actually pretty good. Your companions do things in combat and genuinely help out when they need to. You don't control over their every action, which honestly feels nice. It allows you to focus more on yourself. Enemy AI is pretty standard. They charge you and try to kill you and your companions. No major complaints though. The only minor thing that took me out for a second was the fact that there was a clear battlefield area, and if I strayed too far away, the enemies would return back to their starting point. Without getting into spoiler territory, you are an ambassador sent to a new continent that you and other factions are trying to settle in and occupy. Unfortunately, the natives of the new land are less receptive to your arrival. Some factions want to broker peace with the natives, while others want to viciously convert them to their way of thinking. And then there's you, in the thick of it all, entering politics and confrontations like you own the place. Obviously, being an RPG, you get to choose how you deal with the natives and the other colonizing factions, which is a great plus. Although many of the quests and politics rarely turn out how you expect, so that was a nice change of pace. It kept me engaged through some of the more talky bits, where combat decides to wait outside while you sip tea with your enemies. Just like any BioWare game, the world feels fully fleshed out and lived in. I can't tell you how many games I've played where these sprawling open worlds have little to no people in them. GreedFall makes sure the world is populated, and not just that. With a rich history of each faction and their cultures very distinguished from each other, the setting feels diverse and interesting. I actually did most of the side quests and my companion quests, not just because the characters were interesting, but their customs and beliefs varied so much. This attention to detail and world building is super important and breathes fresh air into the game. I was able to easily get immersed in what was happening, and every action taken by the characters felt grounded in the world's mechanics and setting. Let's discuss art. The world is gorgeous. The new island of Tier for D complements the story very well. It looks and feels like a new world that's yet to be fully colonized. You have your big cities on the edge of the ocean, your massive open areas, and your native villages found throughout the world. The natural aesthetic makes the world feel very cohesive, but it also does a good job at varying the biomes. You have forests, fields, caves, and mountainous regions. The color palette is vibrant enough to feel like a fantasy world, but grounded enough to keep you immersed in the setting. Striking a good balance between the two doesn't offer the most unique art style, but it certainly makes it look polished enough. The only design I had an issue with were the characters' faces, especially when they were talking.
You already training for your new post of legate? Don't tire yourself. Flattery'll get you nowhere. But for the fight, you have remembered your basics. Your performance just got you out of a final lesson. Unless you want to go through the paces again before we depart.
It's something I could get past and isn't a major game breaker, but the terrible lip sync did throw me off when I first started playing the game. Mind you though, this development group was small, and so I understand cuts to polish had to be made somewhere. The music is spectacular. Fully orchestrated, the grand epic music sounds as though it belongs in a Dragon Age or Final Fantasy game. The large drums and swelling of the orchestra brings a lot of liveliness into the game. I don't think I would have been as immersed in GreedFall if it had an average soundtrack. The sound effects aren't bad either. They're not as memorable as the music, but they aren't flat sounds. The sound of my pistol firing was probably the most satisfying sound effect in the game. There is one major issue with the audio though. The fact that each character has only one cheesy combat line is extremely annoying. It gets repetitive very fast.
Move away! Things are about to get dicey! Move away! Things are about to get dicey! Move away! Things are about to get dicey!
They also do this annoying thing where they backseat drive my character. Drink a potion, your health is low. You're out of magic, drink a potion. I get it, I get it. They aren't as bad as Dragon's Dogma, but they're pretty damn close. Overall, this game is great. It's not perfect in any regards, and the progression does feel a bit slow at times, but the game is something that I've personally missed for a long time. Nostalgia sells, and it sells very well. You can tell that this game was trying so hard to pick up BioWare's torch and bring back the good old days where they took their time and shipped out something truly breathtaking. Is GreedFall breathtaking? In some spots, yes, and I think with a bit more options and a bit of polish to the formula and animations, Spiders has something truly special. I'm giving this game an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, folks. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. This is my first video, and I'm hoping to do a lot more. This is Game Ghost, coast to coast.